and welcome to Barnegat Communities That Care Universal Mentor Training. Before you begin this training, you must complete the pre-test. School administration should have sent that to you in your school email. If you haven't done so already, please pause and do the pre-test before you move on. So, welcome. My name is Roberta Rapisardi, and I am a Community Prevention Manager with RWJ Barnabas Health Institute for Prevention and Recovery, and I currently oversee a coalition here in Barnegat called Barnegat Communities That Care. So if you haven't heard of us, hopefully by the end of today, you will have a better idea of the work that we do here in the community. With me today, I have 4 of our members who will be helping present, and I am going to have them introduce themselves.
My name is Carrie Brightsky. I'm the Director of Community Outreach at Community Medical Center, RWJ Barnabas Health. I've been working at the hospital for 17 years, and I worked on many coalitions and helped create programs working with the youth.
Hi everybody, my name is Megan Tucker. I am a Youth Prevention Coordinator with RWJ Barnabas Health Institute for Prevention and Recovery. I've been working with youth for 15 plus years, and I'm really excited to work on this mentorship project with the school district and the Barnegat Communities That Care.
Good morning, my name is Brian Prizer, and I serve as the Director of Student Ministries at Bayside Chapel here in Barnegat. I've been in student ministry for 5 years. I grew up in Manahawkin, and I'm thankful to be a part of Barnegat CTC.
Hi, my name is Meredith Jackstad. I have been a member of the Barnegat community for 20-some years, and in those 20 years I have worked a lot with students in the area, children in the area. I work with Barnegat Rec with the special needs population, but I've also worked with a lot of the sports groups.
So our objectives are outlined here. We're going to give you a little bit of a background about CTC, but then we're going to move right into the Universal Mentor Training that all Barnegat staff are required to attend. We will explain why this is important, even if you aren't a part of the mentoring program, when we go into the social development strategy. And then we will conclude with school and community resources for our youth. So Communities That Care is an evidence-based process based out of the University of Washington. It utilizes a public health and upstream approach while utilizing local data to improve youth's lives within that community. A coalition is an organization of diverse interest groups that join their human and material resources to produce a specific change that they are unable to deliver as independent individuals or separate organizations. Our vision is for a united community that empowers youth through constant innovation in order to promote and maintain social interactions and positive community relationships, as well as fortify family values. The Communities That Care process highly suggests having all 12 sectors represented in the coalition. So here you're going to see parents, businesses, media, schools, youth-serving organizations, law enforcement, civic and volunteer organizations, religious and fraternal organizations, healthcare professionals, state, local, tribal government, substance abuse organizations, and youth. So the CTC cycle has 5 different phases. In phase 1, getting started, that was where our key leader orientation took place. Phase 2, we had our community board orientation, and at the end of that, our members chose which work groups they were going to participate in. Phase 3 is where we review the data that was collected or collect more data from additional sources. And this is where the community profile or the community assessment report is written. In stage 4, this is where we analyze the data to create a plan. The Community Resource Assessment Work Group looked at programs and resources specific to the data that was voted upon in phase 3. They are to create a Community Resource Assessment report and report out to the entire community board so that we can vote on programs or policies to put in place. This is where what program are we going to be using and bringing to Barnegat is answered. From there, a community action plan is created. Stage 5 has 8 suggested work groups that are centered around how to implement, monitor, evaluate, fund, and suggest program and policy. Once that is complete, we start all over at phase 1. The first cycle, it takes about a year to complete. So in phase 5, we hit a couple of brain scratchers, to say the least. The coalition voted on focusing on the risk factor of low commitment to school in phase 3. From there, in phase 4, we looked at programs that addressed that. Mentoring programs kept coming up. Unfortunately, big mentoring programs are extremely expensive and they aren't universal. What do I mean by universal? Is that they aren't open to all youth. Students, those were for only students who were identified by low attendance, failing grades, or one-parent households, etc. We know that basic mentoring programs work. There's a ton of journal articles and studies that show that when youth are connected to a trusted adult, that they perform better and make better decisions. Why not continue the work that we are doing and highlight it? I know no one signed up to work in a school to get on the front of the paper. We didn't sign up to work with youth to get recognized. We are passionate about what we do. It's not about the recognition. But our coalition knows that the relationship building is so important, and we want to document that in our community. No one is coming to study our mentor program and give one group of kids a mentor and another a placebo pill. But what we can do as a district is see the impact we are having and to start with consistency. We need to make sure that each school's mentoring program is consistent across the entire district. From there, we will document. And please don't get scared when I say the word data or document. You may not believe me now, but hopefully by the end of this training, you will have more trust in our coalition and understand that we aren't creating more work. We're here to work right here alongside you, and we want to highlight the amazing work that's already being done here in Barnegat. So here you will see a bunch of movies. Take a minute and see how many movies you can name and who the actors are in those scenes. So we have Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi. We have East Side High, Mr. Clark. We have Mary Poppins. We have Cars, Doc Hudson. Dangerous Minds, Michelle Pfeiffer. Dennis the Menace, Mr. Wilson. Facts of Life, Miss Garrett. And Boy Meets World, Mr. Feeney. What do they all have in common? They're all mentors. So right now, I want you to think back to your own childhood for a minute. Close your eyes if you want. Do you remember an adult who took a special interest in helping you to be the best that you could be by giving you an opportunity to do something meaningful? Someone who taught you skills that you needed to succeed and took time to recognize you for your success. It could be anyone, from your boss who gave you some extra responsibilities at your first job, to a coach who gave you an opportunity to play in a big game. Who was this person? And why do you remember them? So I'm going to share some pictures of young Roberta. Young Roberta also looked like a Robert. But this training wouldn't be as fun if I didn't share some embarrassing childhood photos. So in these photos, you're going to see me with my dad. He's giving me the opportunity to fish and to help him with some sort of home improvement project. He took the time to give me the skills I needed for this opportunity. I may have never really liked putting the worm on the hook, but when I did it without gagging, he praised me for it. He showed me how to properly hold a hammer and how to clean up after yourself at a job site. My father was big on praise. He always said to me, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. From such a young age, I was bonded to my father. I'm very lucky. I wanted to impress him, so I made sure I got good grades and went off to my college. Making my father proud of me was an amazing feeling. I knew I could run to my dad if I had any problem and he wouldn't judge me. So if you were to ask some of your colleagues who their person was, you would see that there are many opportunities, skills, and recognition everywhere in the community. Having a positive impact on a young person's life doesn't have to require hours of mentoring or expensive programs. It just requires each of us to notice the young person around us and see them as future successful adults. This is your why. This is why it's so important that all of you receive this training, because you are all mentors in some sort of way, whether you sign up to be one or not. Add unofficial mentor to the multiple hats that you wear, because it's the truth. More than ever, especially during this pandemic, this is why our students need us. So let's get straight to it. What do I have to do? What's my responsibility, you're asking? First, we need to provide young people with meaningful opportunities that are age appropriate. Young people need to be involved with and contribute to their families, schools, and communities in meaningful ways. There are 3 important things to keep in mind when providing opportunities. Let's ensure that they're age appropriate, they fit a young person's abilities and should fit his or her interests, and clearly show a young person how he or she is valuable. How do you think you can better provide opportunities that will help our young people feel like they are more important to our classroom or to our school community? Next, we want to provide skills. When we give children opportunities, we also need to make sure that they have the skills necessary to be successful. But keep in mind that the clearer and more detailed an adult's instructions are when teaching the skills, the greater the likelihood the youth will be successful in that opportunity. So some skills may be very specific. For example, an art teacher may have a particular way of handling art materials and how the room should be left before students leave. If this is the case, the teacher would need to clearly explain the particulars of how he or she would like the room to look when the students are working on the projects. Adults should not assume that a child has certain skills. Even if the skill seems simple to them, it may not be simple for the child. For example, the skills necessary to put away the dishes may seem self-explanatory, but if the child is young and has never done the task, he or she may get confused and put things in the wrong place, or break the dish because they're not handling them properly. The final part is recognition. When we give young people opportunities and the skills to be successful, we need to make sure that they are recognized for their effort, progress, and their accomplishments. Tell kids what they do well. For example, let's say you've given a child the opportunity to start a new club at school based on an interest they have. You've taught them the skills to be successful, and they're doing a great job. Keep those points in mind. Recognize specific behaviors. Don't just say great job. Instead say, you did a great job in marketing your club. You are very goal-oriented and it shows. Mostly, your passion to share your love of chess is remarkable. Focus on the positive. Maybe one month no one showed up at the club, but they stayed after school consistently and never gave up. Learning new skills can be challenging. Providing tips on how to do better next time and reinforcing what a child does correctly is the best way to encourage him or her to keep practicing and mastering new skills, and is much more effective than focusing on mistakes. And be sincere with your praise. Be clear and consistent with your feelings. Give praise for effort. Trying to complete an assignment or trying a new skill for progress, doing better than before, and for achievement. Your child's efforts to learn and develop skills are as important as the eventual mastery of those skills. So this is your what you have to do as an official or unofficial mentor. Working these ideas into your classroom, virtual or in person, helps to build a community and supports and protects our young people. So bonding is a protective factor. You can think of protective factors as a shield around a child that helps protect him or her from the effects of risk factors. As you know, children are exposed to risks that can keep them from reaching their potential. Risks for children occur in families, schools, and communities, and in relationships with their peers. In other words, children face risks every day. Some children exposed to these unhealthy circumstances become involved in substance use, commit violent acts, or drop out of school. Yet other children in similar situations don't develop problem behaviors. And why is that the case? I mentioned before that you are all unofficial mentors, whether you like it or not. You hold so much power over the youth you teach. when they are connected and bonded to you, regardless of how bad of a kid that they are or who they have as parents, they will follow your standards. This is your who. So here's a fancy word for everything that we've just talked about, the social development strategy. One of CTC's goals is to educate the entire community, not just educators, on the social development strategy. What's great about talking to educators about it is that it's not something new. The concept has been done naturally and authentically every day, every year. So why are we talking about it if you're doing it already? Because we want you to know the power you hold over youth you serve. When opportunities, skills, and recognition are in place, you are able to bond to that student, where then they will follow your standards for healthy behavior. Bonding is important. It's an essential protective factor. On the bottom, you'll see individual characteristics. Children are unique, and when we provide them with opportunities, skills, and recognition, we will be more effective when we attend to their individual characters. For example, can you imagine that one child might love receiving a public award during an assembly, while another might be mortified to have to stand up before a large group? The second child might be more rewarded by hearing from a parent that his teacher was proud of their work on a recent report. There's also an example I want to give you about a coach that went through the stands of the social development strategy. They gave a child an opportunity to play in a game because they taught them the skills of how to play in the field, let's say softball, how to do ground balls, how to do fly balls, put them in the game, and they hit the ball, it comes to them, they stop it, they send it into the infield, and they stop a score from scoring. They come in, coach says, great job. So now you'd say the child is connected and bonded to you. However, if that child now hears the coach talking to another parent about drinking over the weekend, and they hear him giggling and laughing, the clear standards are blurred. So now that child that's bonded to you or to that coach is now going to wonder, how do I laugh? How do I drink? Is that going to be fun? Is that acceptable? So we just have to sometimes we know as an adult we're able to drink, we're legally over the age, but we have to be careful of what we say in front of the children. So another example is that all of these can be in place along with the clear standards. However, they lead to unhealthy behaviors. And the example I'm going to give to you is gangs. Gangs provide meaningful opportunities for involvement. They teach skills to be successful in that involvement. They recognize their members, and they're bonded to their gangs. They call them family. But the result is that gangs are successful in shaping the unhealthy behaviors of the young people they recruit.
Okay, so this is the where you are going to connect the student to the resources that are out in the community, the school, the community, and the county. Barnegat is unique because it has many resources that are out there. So we're going to start with connection. CTC conducted a youth survey, and the findings were that the students found that there was no connection between the school, the teachers, and their peers. So this is where we want to bond with the students. We want to bond with them by actively listening to what their interests and their needs are. We want to let them be heard, that we are listening to them. This is where the bonding is going to happen. And then we want to find out, what are they doing after school? How are they spending time? Through active listening, we already know what their interests and their needs are. Are they playing sports? Are they involved in clubs or community-based programs? And if they're not, do they want to? The school provides resources for the students as well. They provide academic support, social emotional support, clubs, and sports. Now we recognize that sports cost money. There are agencies that can assist by sponsoring a student. Connect them with that agency so that the student can play that sport and be connected with their peers. But you also have to know when to refer that student to the guidance counselor. This can be for academic support, addiction support, or anxiety. So now we're going to talk about resources that are out there in the community That includes churches, the Oasis Family Success Center, Barnegat Library, Barnegat Recreation, Girl and Boy Scouts, Family Promise, and CTC. You are provided with a resource list of all the resources that are available in the community. If a student is interested in a program that is not on the resource list, please reach out to the CTC and we can help provide that. Now we're going to go to the county resources. You're going to refer to the county when we know that students and family needs extra support. And this is where you're going to be connecting this youth, your mentee, to extra supports besides you. Now I want to talk about a program where Barnegat Township School District and Community Medical Center came together and collaborated to create a program for students called the Barnegat Health Youth Learning Collaborative. This is a program for high school juniors to come into the hospital to learn about different occupations that are available to them with a high school diploma. This program is for students who do not know what they want to do after high school, after they graduate. Do they want to go to college? Can they afford to go to college? Do they want to work? Where do they want to work? So we provide them with different occupations. We tell them the education that they need and how they can move up through that occupation. This may prompt them to want to go to school. The hospital provides tuition reimbursement to help the student, to help that person who decides to work at the hospital go to college. So I want to give you an example of somebody who went through the program. We also highlight EMTs within the program. This student didn't know what he wanted to do. He didn't want to work. His mother didn't want him to end up on the streets. So he came through the program and he decided, after he completed it, that he wanted to go on to become an EMT. So he went through the EMT program and now he is working as an EMT. Later on, this mother came up to us crying, thanking us for offering this program to her child because now he is working and not on the street. So this is where you can connect the student to programs and resources and make an impact on their life.
What does it mean to be a good mentor? It means a lot of different things to different people. A good mentor listens, supports, guides, observes, and encourages in a safe, non-judgmental relationship. Mr. Miyagi, he mentored through teaching and by example. Mrs. Garrett mentored through listening and guidance. Mary Poppins mentored through skills trainings and activities. But most importantly, they were present and are positive role models. A mentorship meeting can be in a formal setting with objectives and goals, but also in an informal, relaxed setting. In order to make the mentoring program in Barnegat successful, we believe we need to be consistent across the district. And so a couple of standards were put in place. Each mentor will have no more than 2 mentees. Mentors must connect with their mentee at least 1 time a week. This can be anywhere from a brief conversation or a scheduled visit. Mentors must log that they met with their mentee weekly. This isn't to see if what you're doing or to report on your job or to report to the district. It's a way to finally put on paper the amazing work that's being done here in Barnegat and to compare this data to what the youth are saying. This gives a different view from the other side of the lens. And in addition to that, mentors will be asked to fill out an electronic end-of-year evaluation survey. This will be done in the same way that the pre and post tests we're doing today. This again isn't measuring the work that you're doing. The survey will ask you about your likes and dislikes of the mentoring program, how it can be improved, how you can better be supported, what went well, and what you would like to see again. The information is important so next year we can implement any changes that are needed. So the mentor activity log that we're asking you to fill out, we don't want to scare you away into thinking that this is adding more to your plate. This will take about 30 seconds after each mentor interaction. As you can see from the slide, there are 6 steps to it. Step 1, you select the school that you're at. Step 2, you select your coded name. Step 3, you select your coded mentee name. Step 4 and 5, you select the date and the amount of time you spent with your mentee. Step 6, you just select if you connected your mentee with any community or school resources. These 30 seconds will be essential to our coalition to help document the protective factors that we have in place, so we do ask you to fill them out weekly. Thank you.
So now we come to Mentoring 101. I want to give you 5 steps today that are going to be crucial for you when it comes to mentoring students. So if you're not already taking notes, I encourage you to write these 5 things down because I think you can put them into practice right now. The first thing is note-taking. Now, I don't want you to think of a psychologist sitting in a chair taking notes during a therapy session. But instead, what I mean by note-taking is jotting down a basic outline after that mentoring session is over. For example, if you know that your student has a big soccer game this weekend, it's important to remember that they play soccer. The worst thing that could happen is like 3 weeks from now, you ask them, do you play any sports? Jot down little things about their family, maybe about what their family structure is or what it's like at home. So that way you can go back to them next time you guys meet. The next thing I want you to remember is conversation starters. So in the Google Drive, you're going to see a few PDF documents that have conversation starters. Have you ever had a conversation with someone, especially a student, and you felt like it was never getting anywhere? These conversation starters are great because they're going to ask questions that don't have a response of yes or no. So these questions are going to lead into being able to have a deeper and more reflective time with your mentee. The fourth thing is mentoring virtually. Now this is something we never had to think about until now. I know that everything has changed. The way that we teach, the way that we meet with students, the way that we even go to staff meetings for work has changed. But just because things have changed doesn't mean we shouldn't focus on mentoring. Yes, it would be great to always meet together face to face, but meeting virtually is better than not meeting at all. Remember, our students need mentors now more than ever. They're hurting, they're going through all kinds of different things. They need someone to talk to. That's where you come in. So when it comes to virtual mentoring, how do we make it fun? Maybe use some kind of screen share game where you guys can play tic-tac-toe or checkers online against each other. Come up with creative ideas to make that more than just another FaceTime meeting. The next thing I want to talk about is tough topics. No matter how long you've been in teaching, you know that over time, as you build relationships with students, stuff comes out. Things that they're dealing with at home, things that they're dealing with in their own personal life. As teachers, it's hard not to take the burdens of someone else and put it on yourself. But you have to be prepared for these tough conversations. How does your student feel comfortable when they talk to you? Are they afraid to tell you what's really going on? How do they know that they can trust you? One of the best tips I have when talking to a student about tough things is your body language. When a student shares something with you that's intense, the way that you respond is everything. That's going to either build your trust or break your trust. And so if you tell me something really, really sad or something really, really hard that you're going through, and I respond with my face being like, oh my goodness, that's so sad, that's so bad, that's going to hurt that conversation. Make sure that you respond with love and kindness back to them, but you also don't negate the severity of what's going on. Your communication matters. And if they're talking about something, especially about something that deals with themselves, communicate the honor that you have that they would share that with you. Hey, but Bob, I'm so thankful that you told me that. I know it's a big deal, and I'm thankful that you would trust me enough to share that with me. Make sure you communicate the fact that they are heard. One of the things I get asked often when it comes to mentoring is how do you call it quits when it doesn't work out? We know that sometimes mentoring relationships, they just don't work out the way that we want them to. Maybe it's a personality issue, maybe it's a schedule issue, maybe it's some other kind of issue. But the worst thing that we can do when we break off a mentoring relationship is to leave students without a mentor. We have to connect them with someone else. So whether that's talking to people in your hall or other mentors that you know in the school, it's important to set them up with someone else. Don't just break off the mentor relationship and move on. Set them up with another mentor that can pick up where you left off. Remember that mentoring starts with building a relationship with the student. And if that can't be achieved, then it's okay to move forward. Your attentiveness to your mentees is making a real difference. And you may not always see the effects of your work, but that doesn't mean your mentorship isn't working. Who do you contact when it comes to mentoring in your school? Mentors, your direct contact is going to be the counselor of record, the school counselor. As a mandated state reporter, we know that for us, we've got some legalities that we have to pay attention to. If there's a reason to suspect neglect or abuse, then we must report that. You will contact the counselor of record and make the call together. Administration must always be notified of a call to the school counselor. Good luck out there when it comes to mentoring students.
We are very excited, the CTC Coalition, to be working together with the Barnegat Township School District in providing this mentorship training and program throughout the school year. All right, so we have laid out some goals for the school year. One of our goals is to be consistent, so to have all schools following the same program when it comes to mentorship in the school district. Another one of our goals is to collect data to compare to the CTC Youth Survey, which we had facilitated earlier last year. We are collecting the data, not the school district. So it will be IFPR, so the agency that we hold this grant under will be the one comparing and contrasting the data. It will not be the school district. We need the data to be complete. So all pre-test, post-test that you need to fill out, it's really important to do it as a whole so that we can have the best data, so we can offer the students the best services and resources that we possibly can. So whatever comes across your plate, your email, please take the time, usually a couple seconds, a minute, to complete the data so that we have a clear picture for our coalition and for the work that needs to be done in Barnegat. Another goal is to provide a network to support the mentors. So that means checking in with the mentors, making sure that you have what you need in order to be a sufficient mentor to your mentees. If you're having some issues come up, maybe we can offer a training, or maybe we can offer a guest speaker that will help you in that area. So we're here to really support you in any way that we possibly can so that you could be the best mentor for your mentees. One of our goals is also to provide some continued education opportunities through lunch and learns or through continued virtual trainings. And our last goal is to help with funding for the mentor program, to pull together community resources to make sure that your students and you have all that you need to have an effective mentor-mentee relationship. So now we're going to be providing you with some resources as a mentor. We're going to have a Google Drive link where you can access an activity log for when you mentor your mentees. You're going to be able to access some icebreakers that are fun ways that you can communicate and break the ice with your students, some conversation starters, as well as a really awesome school and community resource list that you can refer to if you need to refer your student or their family to any of the community resources that we have here in Barnegat and Ocean County.
So now we want to show you a little video clip called Envisioning the Future of Our Youth, and you're going to hear a little bit from Miss Pearson.
I have spent my entire life either at the schoolhouse, on the way to the schoolhouse, or talking about what happens in the schoolhouse. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. And for the past 40 years, I've done the same thing. And so needless to say, over those years, I've had a chance to look at education reform from a lot of perspectives. Some of those reforms have been good, some of them have been not so good. And we know why kids drop out. We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection. Relationships. James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. George Washington Carver says all learning is understanding relationships. Everyone in this room has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson. The kids should learn it. I should teach it. They should learn it. Case closed. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. She said, that's just a bunch of hooey. And I said to her, well, your year is going to be long and arduous, dear. Needless to say, it was. Some people think that you can either have it in you to build a relationship or you don't. I think Stephen Covey had the right idea. He said you ought to just throw in a few simple things, like seeking first to understand as opposed to being understood. Simple things like apologizing. You ever thought about that? Tell a kid you're sorry, they're in shock. I taught a lesson once on ratios. I'm not real good with math, but I was working on it. And I got back and looked at that teacher edition. I taught the whole lesson wrong. So I came back to class the next day and I said, look, guys, I need to apologize. I taught the whole lesson wrong. I'm so sorry. They said, that's okay, Miss Pearson. You were so excited. We just let you go. I have had classes that were so low, so academically deficient that I cried. I wondered, how am I going to take this group in 9 months from where they are to where they need to be? And it was difficult. It was awfully hard. How do I raise the self-esteem of a child and his academic achievement at the same time? One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class because I am the best teacher and you are the best students. They put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? We have to show the other classes how to do it. So when we walk down the hall, people will notice us. So you can't make noise. You just have to strut. And I gave him a saying to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I am powerful and I am strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, and places to go. And they said, yeah. You say it long enough, it starts to be a part of you. And so I gave a quiz, 20 questions. Student missed 18. I put a +2 on this paper and a big smiley face. He said, Miss Pearson, is this an F? I said, yes. He said, then why'd you put a smiley face? I said, because you on the roll. You got 2 right, you didn't miss them all. I said, and when we review this, won't you do better? He said, yes, ma'am, I can do better. You see, -18 sucks all the life out of you. +2 said, I ain't all bad. For years, I watched my mother take the time at recess to review, go on home visits in the afternoon, buy combs and brushes and peanut butter and crackers to put in her desk drawer for kids that needed to eat, and a washcloth and some soap for the kids who didn't smell so good. See, it's hard to teach kids who stink. And kids can be cruel. And so she kept those things in her desk, and years later, after she retired, I watched some of those same kids come through and say to her, you know, Miss Walker, you made a difference in my life. You made it work for me. You made me feel like I was somebody when I knew at the bottom I wasn't. And I want you to just see what I've become. And when my mama died 2 years ago at 92, there were so many former students at her funeral. It brought tears to my eyes, not because she was gone, but because she left a legacy of relationships that could never disappear. Can we stand to have more relationships? Absolutely. Will you like all your children? Of course not. And you know your toughest kids are never absent. Never. You won't like them all, and the tough ones show up for a reason. It's the connection, it's the relationships. And while you won't like them all, the key is they can never, ever know it. So teachers become great actors and great actresses, and we come to work when we don't feel like it, and we listen to policy that doesn't make sense, and we teach anyway. We teach anyway because that's what we do. Teaching and learning should bring joy. How powerful would our world be if we had kids who were not afraid to take risks, who were not afraid to think, and who had a champion? Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. Is this job tough? You betcha. Oh God, you betcha. But it is not impossible. We can do this. We're educators. We're born to make a difference. Thank you so much.
So, did you have a Miss Pearson in your life? Or who are you a Miss Pearson to? I love how she said, she put a +2 and a smiley face on the child's paper. And the kid said, well, is this an F? And she said, yes. Putting a -18 sucks all the life out of you. But putting a +2 says, I'm not all that bad. She also says that you're not going to like them all. But the tough ones show up, and they show up for a reason. It's easy to talk about all the things that youth are doing that's wrong. But rarely we talk about the value and the importance of human connectedness, the relationships that we form. But here in Barnegat, we are. Every child deserves a champion. Will it be you? So here's a quote from one of my favorite movies. Man who catch fly with chopstick accomplish anything. That's impossible. I can't catch a fly with a chopstick. So this means I can't accomplish anything. Your answer is wrong. It's not about the end result. It's about the practice of the skill, the patience, and the determination. We hold the chopstick for our youth. We're going to catch them. We're going to connect with them. And we're not going to give up on them. So you should have received chopsticks in your mailbox, or they are at the front office for you all to have. We wanted to give you something, not so you can try to catch flies with, but for you to put in your desk, so when you open up your school desk and you're grabbing a pen and you see the chopstick, you're reminded of this training. I once went to a training where they gave me a poker chip, and the theme was all in. That you're all in with everything that you do in life, whether it's work, your personal life, your family. And that poker chip was in my purse for some time, then I moved it into my desk, and then when I switched desks, it somehow came to my house, and it's literally sitting on my dresser, and I don't know what to do with it, but I can't get rid of it. And it's a constant reminder to me to always be all in everything that I do. So these chopsticks are a reminder for you to who are you a mentor to? Are you being the best mentor that you can be? You know, maybe one day you are going to have to use it if you order sushi for lunch and they didn't give you your chopsticks, and you're going to have to use these value chopsticks that are in your desk. Or better yet, you can implement a social development strategy with a youth and teach them how to use the chopsticks with you. So we want to thank you for watching this. If you do have any questions, we are going to go to the last slide here where all of our contact information is provided for you, so you can email us, and all of our contact information will also be provided in a document on the Google Drive. So thank you.